Hey, it's Jack and GT here from Something's Brewing. And GT, I see you're out at your usual spot, which I wish we were all sitting at, especially me, at the Brew Crew in sunny California. Is it sunny?
Yeah, in Riverside.
In Riverside.
Yeah,
Well,
let me get a little bang.
there you go.
Yeah, let me
Nice.
just get a little thing on it there so you get the spelling right. Anyways,
Is the
yeah,
beer cold out there?
is it?
Is it? Hey,
And
before we
good.
get started, I wanted to do a couple housekeeping things. We got a couple different episodes we're doing other than this right now on the channel. And the one is we've started like an inmate cooking show with real recipes that we've actually used while we had our time in prison. We did the first show the other day. It's the great oatmeal recipe. You got to check that one out. People are kind of liking that. It's some people think it's disgusting, but I still eat it now. That's why I started with that one. Next week we're going to do how coffee creamer pie, and that'll be kind of interesting. The other one we're doing, and that we're going to do that every 2 weeks. Now every week we're going to do uh, an inmate story show. It's going to be a short one, 5 6 minutes. It's going to be a true story about inmates and things we actually witnessed or we participated in or we viewed or whatever. It's called Jailhouse Jokes and Lockdown Legends. And believe me, these guys can be legends in there because they're goofier than hell. Anyway, that's a little sidebar thing. Check those out when you get a chance. GT, I'm going to get into a couple of things today that the first question is my question because you were out before I was, obviously, and then when I got out, you'd already set up several relationships with different bars and stuff for the beer for Shank beer, and Shank was starting to get popular, and the word was getting around. So I guess my first thing is I'm going to use the term networking. That's what all the hip people say. So how did you handle the networking? Because it's different for you and me. So how did you handle it when you first got out?
Networking, man, that is. I'm not that hip. Yeah, I was just out schlepping around to bars and taking them samples. Um, as you know, Jack, our shank has a fairly unique design, and the cans are black. You probably had them on something they've shown, so I would take them. And I had never sold beer, and I had no concept of how to do it in that, and I didn't know how we were going to be received coming out of prison. And uh, and so when I first started, actually, it was in New York when we started back in 2022, and I was hitting out Brooklyn mostly. I think I started in Park Slope, and anyways, I was going out, and I realized right away that people were very responsive, and I wasn't sure what I was going to get, Jack, and I thought it was going to be like 30% saying, "Oh, screw this ex-convict," and 70%, "Hey, that's cool, man. He's trying to change his life. He wants to help other people do it," and I like that story. It probably turned out closer to, it's over 90% has been overwhelmingly positive, and I got in places because of our story. Uh, Without a doubt, I've come to realize that the craft beer business is saturated, and I can't come in and say, well, I've been brewing for 10 years, and all this. I can't fall back on expertise and longevity, um, but they can't go where we go because I don't know if everyone, it just seemed like most of the people, they're probably thinking of an experience they had with a cousin, a nephew, a brother, a father, a daughter, had some problems with the criminal justice system. And
Do you think that's a key element now? Because if you think back, back when I was in law enforcement, there weren't that many people in the federal system. And when we were in the federal system, my God, it was amazing. There were, how many people were locked up. So that point you just made, everyone's related to or knows someone who's been locked up somewhere. It seems like that may have helped or not.
yeah, it really did. And we had discussed earlier in one of our other shows how even though getting out now probation and starting over, and for you they wouldn't even let you build your credit for what reason I don't know. There was lots of impediments that the government would put in front of us. But when I got out to the people, um, I got help. I got help. I almost got big distribution deals right out of the gate before I even sold a beer because of our story. It was people see people see that this isn't the business model for the craft beer is basically you build a brewery in your town, and then you start going out from there, maybe get a couple more tap rooms and get a distributor, and you work yourself out. And if you do real good in Southern California, go to Northern California. These things are taken over the years. um, Whereas for me, I came out here and did it in Southern California, and I I might have got a better, I don't know. I got a pretty good response in New York too. But I mean, I always find people that want to help a little bit, and hey, I know some people, maybe they can help you out. Hey, I know there's bar down the street. Here's the manager's name. And I put it in my phone. I put a little note in my phone once I learned how to do that. And anyways, and everywhere I went, there was somebody saying, hey, you need to go talk to him at this. And I know other reps don't have that same experience.
Yeah. So when you use this, well, basically you've got the gift of gab, so you can go in and talk to anyone. And so was it when you say it, the story was helpful? Was it the story of prison or the story you were trying to do something after? Was it building the business, or is it a combination of the two?
Every time, it's kind of a two. There's a couple answers to that. Every time, one of the first things they always asked me, "Oh, were you in prison?" I said, "Was I?" And they go, "How long?" And I always go, "Which time?" And that's like a little icebreaker for me, and they laugh and they go, I go, you go, "You've been in more than once?" I go, "Yeah, altogether I was in for over, like 22 years." And I said, I had 3 sentences I did, and in a probe, but I don't go into it. And I said, but this time I decided, to try to change my life. I got too old, and I tell them, I said, look, our whole business model is to help other people when they help people come out when they're coming out of prison, get involved in the craft beer business. And I said, and I'm the first one. And and at this moment, I'm the only one. I said, but that's our thing. We want to make it, and then come out and get other people like ourselves involved. And I said, and our second thing is, our whole motto is, it's never too late to turn your life around. And you're almost my age. I got you by a few months, and we're doing this at a ripe old age. I would have preferred to have been a little younger, but that being said, they relate to that, and almost all of them always tell me, "Don't give up. Keep doing it, man. You're doing a good thing, man." And like I said, I get offers of help and stuff like that. A lot of them, nothing comes of it, but sometimes it does.
Yeah, well, people I think that have an interest in it, and like you said, they want to offer help. Of course, there's kind of limited help sometimes, but every little bit does help. I want to go to the product now. So your story can be great, and there's a lot of stories out there that are great, and then you get down to what their product is, and then the product's got to be worthwhile too. Now I'm going to use me for an example and the product and why I try it. Now, I tell them up front, I'm not a craft beer guy. I haven't been for years, and I just were never around it. This is, when you came up with this idea, that was the first time I really thought much about it. Now, I've had some craft beer locally here in Iowa, and there's some I'll tell you, I think people just throw them together, don't give a damn, put them out because, like you said, not only is the market saturated, there are so many people with a hobby or that same old story of, well, I got tired of the corporate world or tired of my John Deere thing and had to do this thing here and I had a passion for it. But they make junk. Now, having said that, a few beers down here that aren't too bad, and I started to like him. Gable, which is a local named after Dan Gable. You're from Iowa, you got to drink Gable now and then. And it's the best I think it's the best of the group. I'm not doing some marketing. They're not giving me a penny for this. I just think it is. So the question is, what was your reaction to your product when you got it to these people?
Well, that you know the story, the genesis of Shank. For you people that don't know, I've never brewed beer. I can't really even smell, so I would never be a good beer brewer because I can't smell the different hops and that. And but I didn't know anything about it. Well, I went and I found this consulting company, and they make, it's called BevSource, and they make recipes. Well, they said, you want to talk to our brewer. Well, it turns out this guy's name was Matt Hall, and he's an old school, he's a master brewer. He knows everything, and he's got a lab there, and all he does is formulate stuff. And I said, look, I need a recipe. I want an ale. I said, I want a blonde ale. I go, my basis is I want to base it off 805. And for any of you people that aren't from the Southwest or California, 805 is a huge brand now. It's a cool black can. It's a great marketing thing. The beer, a little bit aftertaste, but it's good. And I said, I want to base it after that, but I want to lose the aftertaste, maybe a little crisper, and give it more of a craft beer flavor. And the guy started laughing. He goes, "Well, that's kind of funny." He goes, "I was on the 805 project." He goes, I was the head brewer at Firestone Walker, who makes 805 a decade ago." And he goes, I can do you much better than 805. So I said, let's get on it. So he goes, I'm going to brew it. I'll send you some cans and you get 3 shots at it. If you don't like it, tell me what you don't like and I'll change it. He sent us the first one, and me and our friends and our first investors, Bonnie and Laura, I took it over to their house in Indio, and we tried it. We all looked at each other, and we didn't know what to expect. And we go, "Wow, this is great." And at the time, my beer tastes weren't that developed. Where I drink heavier beers now, and I go, man, this might be the best beer I ever drank. I go, this stuff is wonderful. And so we all started laughing, and they go, well, we got a great beer on our hands now. And so when I go out to sell it in that brand, in a blonde category, I I'm pretty confident. I tell them, I said, well, my blonde's better than anything you have. I've tried most of these blondes, and it's true. And so I'm very fortunate, and everybody goes, yeah, this is really good. I mean, you're not going to get 100%, but I mean, I've had quite a few people to say, well, it's the best beer I've ever drank. And that depends on that's all subjective, obviously, but it's a really good blonde. And in other ways, just having the blonde worked out against me, and we'll go into that. But it's having a good beer gives me confidence. I know now we have a hazy, a West Coast IPA, a Mexican lager, and a pink lemonade seltzer, and they're all like really really good. Um, so I like having good beers, because I feel confident. Then I talk shit, and I talk shit when I go in. I don't know why. I'm not comfortable in this medium yet on the video thing, but
Yeah.
you guys don't. The people that are watching this, you guys don't know me. I'm a vicious shit talker, and I just haven't been able to. Me and Jack are just looking at each other on a phone, so I haven't been able to. I haven't felt comfortable about letting all that out. But when I go in bars, I talk trash to them, but I know the beer's that good, and and they laugh and stuff, and I just
Well,
keep
you think
coming
that's
in.
part of it because unlike I talked about earlier was I guess the ones I see these guys, they try this beer and you pour it into a glass. These other guys, they pour, and you can look at the beer and say, I'm not gonna like that shit. I can tell you right now before I even get it to my nose. But those are hobby guys, that they do as a hobby. This is different because this is the life. This is it. We're going, there's running this beer here. Now we've got other things we're doing, but this is the flagship part of the business. So we got to take it serious. And I can tell people, and I've got uh, a couple stories of people here that have tried it in Iowa. We can't buy it here yet, but we bought it online, had some shipped out here and stuff. They love it. And these guys are some pretty hardcore regular beer drinkers, not craft beer guys. There's one construction guy who just nuts over it and wants to get it. It wasn't very long ago. He said, "You got to get set out here again." And this guy's a Budweiser drinker. Born, he has Budweiser going. He says his liver will collapse and the sources will haul it out. He said he loves this beer, and he's kind of a horse's ass, so he's not going to say it be kind. Um, and so I think that right there tells you a lot. I like it, and I'm not a craft beer guy. I really think it's good beer, and that's a rare thing for me to say. So but it goes back to what I said. It's different if you're a craft beer enthusiast and a craft beer lifer, which is what we are.
Right, right. And for me now I drink it at home. I keep a case in my fridge, and I drink it at home. But once you start drinking IPAs and hazies and that, the blondes seem a little light. But but that wasn't our. We weren't trying to make it just as a craft beer. We wanted to be a mainstream beer. 805 is comes from a craft brewery, but 805 is one of the first craft beers that out here in California that went really mainstream. I mean, their tap panels compete against Modelo, Coors, Coors Light, Bud, and that's who I wanted to compete against. So when I told him how I wanted this beer, it's what you're saying. You have friends, they drink regular beer. They're not craft guys, and they're going, this is really good. And also the girls like it because it doesn't have an aftertaste. It's really girls don't a lot of girls unless they're crafties that they don't like an aftertaste beer. They just don't. And
Yeah.
and so
So
it's worked out.
let's talk to people about going from here, and that's kind of moving down the road a little bit. But obviously, when you have a business, you got to have a plan of where you're somewhere you're going. Now, we don't ultimately know where we're going, but we know what direction we're going. So, in doing that, I want to talk about where you're sitting at right now. We introduce you there all the time. Tell me a little bit about the Brew Crew. Tell me about the establishment, where you're at, and what goes on there.
Okay, with Brew Crew is my friend Steven. It used to be called BREW Brew Crew, and it went out of business years ago. And then he bought it and opened the business back up. And what he has, he's a tap room. He does have a little brewery in there, but it's not hooked up right now. He's needs a few more pieces, and so he buys beer from different breweries. He's a craft beer guy. Like right now, I'm drinking a Ghost Town IPA because they're out of shot collar right now, and I got to go get them some. I didn't know they were out till I got here, and there was a cup on top of the shot collar. But anyways, he like picks quality beers, and so I was selling beer over at a place called Crowley's. It's like a little bikini bar, cute girls, stuff like that. And this dude that was a rep for Brewery X told me, "Oh, you got to go over to the Brew Crew. You'll get along good with Steven." And I came over here and I told him, and I had him try it, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll take a half. You know, a half is a keg in parlance. It's a half a barrel. That's a big keg. There's halves and sixtails. Sixtails is a sixth of a barrel. There's like three sixtails in a keg. And anyway, so he took some beer, and I told him my story, and he liked it. And 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 I just told him, I said, I need I need a little guidance on the back end of the business thing. He's really good at business. And we became friends, and he carries four of our SKUs. He always carries the hazy, the IPA, the shanked, and our pink lemonade, which we call pink is the new black. And anyways, he was in business. He's been in business a little over a year, and he's done real well. And so we're out now, and he knows a lot of people, and we're sending people over here, and we're trying to find some other people that can help us get out there more, that have contacts and stuff right now at this time.
So, as far as the beer expansion, then is the next stage just expanding while you're there and getting it out to other accounts and other bars, or what's
Yeah.
the now?
Right. We're doing that, and then I'm gonna take you over. I'll shoot some video over there where I get my beer brewed, a contract brewer, but he sells his own beer and he contract brews for other breweries. Because he's got a big brewery, and he can brew a lot of beer. And so he brews my beer. His name's Scott over Evans Brewing, and he's offered me a he's got a tap room upstairs, a good sized one, and downstairs he's got a tap room that he's not using. And he wants me to come over there and do a prison break downstairs. His is upstairs, and shoot our do it like we'll be. Then we'd start. He wants us to come over and start doing our YouTube and stuff over there, and he's got better facilities. He's got an office we could set up and stuff. So I'm trying to put that together now because it'll be a fairly inexpensive thing, and have our own. And I've been talking to someone, and we need to get a brewery, even if it's a small one, just to work on our recipes. And then I would have Evans brew the beer until we outgrow him, also.
Yeah. So ultimately, you'll be brewing your own beer. That is,
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
but a lot of the business now, a lot of breweries, like big one, ones that sell quite a bit of beer, they're doing what I'm talking about doing. They got a little 5 barrel brew house. They're making their recipes and their brands that are popular. They're brewing them over Evans, in places like Evans, because he's got. Well, God, I hate being the technical stuff, but he's got like conveyor belts, the automatic grain feeders. When you get into the smaller breweries, the 15 barrels and 10 barrel brew houses, you got to carry the sacks up. It's more labor intensive. You got to
Uh-huh.
carry, you got to carry the grain and stuff like that, and whatever you're using, depending on the beer, and you got to, everything's done by hand. You crawl up on a place, walk up a platform with bags, and dump them in. Well, he's got a big, he puts it in silos, and it dumps right in, and so he can keep his costs down. So he can actually make you a lot of beer and give you a price that, with the overhead, if you had a regular 10 or 15 barrel brew house, you probably couldn't make it as cheap as him. And then you have fixed costs. So a lot of the business is going that way.
What about online? And I know one time you had online sales because people bought it and they liked it. Is there anything to go back to a setup with that where people can do it again pretty soon, or what are your thoughts? And it may be down the road a ways, but it's something I'm going to get asked about again.
No,
So
no, it's definitely coming back. I was involved. In fact, our beer is still on their website, Craft Beer Kings in Huntington Beach. I think they sell in 48 of the 50 states. Um, I'm gonna get back there now that we're doing this. We're gonna have more people ask because YouTube isn't a local Riverside thing. It's global, but it's at least national, and we're definitely going back there. I had to start over. I had to go back to work, and I had to start over, and we're working it out. Um, it's tough, but it's like anybody starting a business. They know the number one thing is don't quit. Don't give up.
exactly.
Don't ever give up. That's it.
And that takes me to the next question, which I guess is kind of philosophical more than anything else on it. But so you look at this, what you've gone through, what longer than what I've been going through it, and starting a business and everything else, and you hear about the problem with former inmates getting jobs and all those things that you get. Is it realistic for inmates to do? I'm not specifically talking about craft beer, but I'm talking about starting a business, getting out there because there's extra. I don't know exactly. California seemed to be a little more helpful. Iowa's not helpful at all, just not at all. If you start a business here, you can't even vote here. You're never going to vote here. Um, yeah, you can't do that. Good Lord knows who would happen if inmates voted in Iowa. But the point is it a viable thing for a former inmate to think about when he gets out? Is starting a business? Do you think it is?
Yeah, for inmates starting a business, a lot of them are going to be. This guy, he bought a truck. Bought a dump. I know guys in the halfway house. They bought 10-wheeler dump trucks. And started renting them out and stuff. And then there's what we're trying to do, which this is a consumer goods thing, and this is a brand. We're trying to build a brand. There's other ones. I don't know if some of the people might be familiar, like with Homeboy Breads down there, East LA, bunch of Hispanic guys that did good, and they hire people coming out of prison. There was a guy, Dave's Killer Bread. His family had a bakery that was struggling, and he got out of prison, and he turned it around and made it more prison themed. Hey, I'm a starting over prison thing, and I just saw a thing recently that guy sold it out for God $160 million. So, but them are the ultimate success stories. Um, I think getting out and starting a business as an ex-convict I think it is, a geographical thing. When we were in New York. You couldn't get. I could. We could. Prison Break couldn't get a license in New York. Uh, and, and if I went to go get a job as a salesman, I couldn't get a job as a salesman for a company selling liquor in New York, being an ex-felon. But New York had a thing in their law where you don't have to have a liquor license in New York as long as you're making the beer out of state and you're selling it in New York and your distributor, it's all under your distributor's license. So New York would be a tough one, and Iowa sounds tough, but yeah, I think I don't know if being an ex-felon helps you in some businesses, but I do think it helps you in any business that needs branding. If you're kind of falling back on, hey, I'm changing my life, I'm starting over, because people would rather see you do good and not have to pay to incarcerate you again.
If they realize how much it costs to incarcerate people. And when they find that out, they might be shocked. But so most businesses, I think, there's a lot of businesses be very tough for a ex-felon because they don't come out educated. So they really have to start bootstrapping to get it going. But I think I agree with you. I think it's a viable option for guys. It really is. Of course, there's always that opportunity to fall flat on your face, but they had time to plan while they're in there too, which I think does help. When this case right here shows it.
Yeah, this is God, I don't know. I don't want to say we were unique, but because of the situation that we had in there with our office situation and because of how you are, it's just like you're one of them people that have to do stuff like this. And you got me feeling that same way. I wasn't that type of person, and now I am. But I don't, I think it's more of a lot of people get out and they work hard, and maybe they're working for a plumbing company and they go, man, I could do this myself. I can save my money, buy me a service truck, and become a mobile plumber, and have some cards made up and stuff like that. And I think it grows out of that more. I don't. It's like the guys from Dave's Killer Bread. He didn't come out saying I'm going to take my family's bakery over. From what I read, it was like he came out and his family he goes to work there as a job, and they go, we're struggling, and they had a pretty good sized bakery, and but he goes, and they said we've been struggling, and he goes, well, let me try it my way. Um, so and he capitalized on the fact that ex inmate trying to change his life. It worked out very good for him.
Mhm.
I think it helps in the branding end more probably. I don't really see where being like a plumber or a truck driver. Oh, I was in prison. I don't think that helps you there.
No, no, I think there's certain areas it does help you. And we can talk about some of those next time in the music area that I was involved in and stuff. But we're getting down to about a half hour, about time to shut her down again. You got any closing comments, thing you want to say or bring up?
No, I'm. I'll save our story about Jean Paul DeJoria till the next one. For you guys who don't know who he is, he was Paul Mitchell, and who else did he own? He owned a big liquor company. Uh, God, was it a tequila or Tito's or something that he made and he sold and made $1 billion off it or something. And he had a hard life growing up.
Yeah, this is a great story, and it's hard for me to believe, and I know it happened. So next time we're going to come out, you guys come back, view that. You're going to hear this story. It's going to be something.
Yeah.
Anyway, till next time, it's Jack and GT with Something's Brewing. Take care out there. We'll see you in about a week.